Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cluster Bean Milkshake. I am your host, along with Mr. Chicken Support Puppet. Today, we are going to talk about how I was trauma bonded 2 times throughout my life, being unaware. Okay? The second time, I was slightly becoming aware. But the first time, hail to the no. Hail to the no. The first one, both times I was married. And the first one, I started going on social media for the very first time. And I met someone through a mutual friend on Facebook. This was just, I wasn't getting DM'd or anything. It was just joking around with, one of my friends, a male from the past, and he was, on the thread too, and, me being funny or making jokes or whatever, and then, he saw me as someone that he probably wanted to impress with his comical skill. He was married too. He, one time I got into a fight online with the mutual friend. I was very upset. This was before I learned to curb my emotional triggers. Because I used to get triggered a lot when I was younger. So I took everything personally, and oh my God, I'm such a victim. I'm such a victim from other people's opinions, and they're just so hurtful. How could you say these things to me? Ugh, so much fucking shit. Ugh. Okay. So this dude, he went straight to my DMs and was like, oh my God, like very attentive to my fucking meltdown. Okay. So I thought, oh, this person is, he actually wants to validate my feelings about what went down. And that's how that fucking bullshit started. All they had to do was just validate my pain. Oh my God. And that's how this dude got his in. Now, over time, because he reached out to validate my feelings when I was in a vulnerable state, then he could show up anytime that he wanted and just, feed my motherfucking ego. Okay. It was never, just being flattered or, making jokes. Now, my thing to get attention is making jokes. So unaware, I just kept, being entertaining for this motherfucker to get my needs met, which was attention. And I remember I'm completely fucking unaware of this except for the need to, continuously get these DMs or banters or seeing if he could fucking make me laugh back, because as soon as he becomes dull, then, I'm going to lose interest in this motherfucker. So after, a couple months, say, of constant attention and feeding this to, feeding my empty hole that never gets filled, that is when he started to pull away. Now, I remember when he started to pull away, he was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be, talking so much and blah, 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 and all this shit. Now, I was like, you know what? You're right. I wasn't, I did not turn needy, like, oh God, you got to, and that fucking shit came later. But I was just like, okay, that's fine. And he saw that that pull away wasn't working. And so that is when, he started to say, well, it's just, I really have feelings for you and blah, blah, stuff. Now, over time, you become so consistent with talking to this person all the time that if they do not show up when you're texting, because you relax into that. This is a pattern, and you relax into that pattern. Now, with me, I'm constantly being fed. So he's not removing himself to make me, starve and everything. So when he started to pull away after a few more months, I would also start to get triggered by not having the intense attention to me that I used to have. It wasn't becoming fun anymore for me. It was just like, so I was getting very angry with not having, being flattered constantly, not being, having my needs met, my attention, only speaking to me, not other girls when out in the public social media forum, right? He started to get other people attention, and the triangulation, from my point of view, was starting. Okay. So not only did this anger me, but I also felt comfortable enough to let motherfuck know. I fucking reacted. I let the cat out of the bag that shit bugged me. Now, knowing what I know, I would have done the same fucking bullshit back to him to see that you cannot get a reaction from me. And if you're going to, do that shit, I'm going to do it back to you. I didn't fucking do that. And over time, as he began to do more and more of those toxic behaviors, I would get more and more angry. The anger shows that you care to narcissistic people, and he knew that I was emotionally compromised. So after I got sick of this over long periods of time, I was just like angry all the time. I was having that same, emptiness personified, just my regular, and then having, what he was feeding me taken away with all the other toxic bullshit in between. I just fucking, got rid of the relationship. But I even tried to do, kind of revengey things online, which were just, giving one of his closer friends attention or something like that, and being very dismissive of him showing up and stuff like that. That wasn't good either, okay? That did not make me whole. That did not make me feel fucking nothing. And after getting into a really huge fight and me being able to provoke this person into threatening me to expose me, expose, our little, online tryst, I stopped talking to him. But, I felt like I won. But still with that trauma bond, which is me wanting to get the attention that I never had as a child, that I was getting from him, and him taking it away, just like I experienced in childhood, kept me in that trauma bond, or that sadness, depression, and grief for almost 2 years, okay? I would stalk him every once in a while. I would stalk the girls that he's talking to. I would see that he was saying the same things to them. Now, this didn't break me down. This kind of validated, what I saw going on. Okay, he does this shit to everyone. Okay, he was also a pathological liar. He was also, had criminal behavior since he was young, so he had antisocial traits as well. Anyway, I was just like, fuck. So, got rid of that motherfucker. After a few years in having trouble in my marriage, trying to talk to other men and everything, just trying to I was actually trying to find that traumatic bond with somebody else, and you can't. It's not just something that, I tell you guys, you can't just go on the street and fucking find somebody that is actually going to give you that high that another cluster B can give you, which will trauma bond you. Couldn't fucking find it. Later, after working on my marriage and trying to be, a good wife and everything, and just getting my feed off of like painting and hobbies and just doing other things, I still felt like I was grabbing at straws at everything else. And relationships outside of the marriage is also grabbing at straws. That is when the second trauma bond reared its ugly head my way. Now, with the second trauma bond, we had been Facebook friends for 5 years, just making jokes here and there. The DM was from him was very short and sweet and far in between. It might have been a movie that he was suggesting to me, or once he said that he was going on dating apps and things like that. And I said, later he told me he was trying to triangulate me. For what? He was just my fucking friend. I don't give a shit. And I actually helped him create, his profile. I told him, I said, I want you to get laid. You're my friend. I'm married. I'm doing my married thing. Okay? Later, after a few years and everything, he was actually talking to my best friend, which was a gay male, and, saying all of his vulnerable things to him. My male gay friend, he was fucking falling in love with this guy. But the guy wanted me. So he was saying all these things to him, and I think he was trying to get closer to me, trying to get secrets from my gay best friend. Now, my gay best friend does not have boundaries when it's to gossip about all of his other fucking friends. So he was giving my new trauma bond person intel on me. Thank you, gay best friend. Anyways, so he came to me in the DMs, and he wanted me to do a project with him. This causes you to talk every day, doing a writing project with him. He was going to draw the art, and he wanted to know if I had any horror stories that I could submit to him, and then we would work on it together. So this would get me talking to him every day. Now, what happens when you talk to somebody every day? You start inserting real life into that. And he started talking about troubles that he was having with his girlfriend. Well, he was giving me all of this attention. It was feeding my, need for attention. And he was admiring my skill. And he was, saying how creative and blah, 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 and all this shit. And I was just like, fuck yeah, I am. Yeah. So, I'm getting love bombed, with him. And it just felt fucking rad. This reminded me of the first trauma bond, and I was just like, fuck yeah, man, this feels great. But because I was having a good relationship with my husband, I told him and gave him some suggestions to get along with his girlfriend. He didn't fucking like that, and he let that be known, like, I ain't reading that shit, I ain't blah, blah, blah. Now, it pissed me off because he was basically tearing down my advice. I didn't like that. I told him that we're not doing the project no more. I told him to rip up the shit that he's already done and to find somebody else. And then I blocked him for a month. In that month time, I was starving for what he was giving me, and I ended up going back and apologizing for being so abrupt and getting rid of him. Now, that's what narcissistic people do. You don't fall in line, fuck you, and you're gone. Now, I missed that attention, as you know, and so I apologized and came back, and then everything escalated from there, because I didn't want to, lose that supply source. Anyway, because he had borderline flavor, everything was like this, and it was crazy and fucking, horror movie type shit, and make a breakup. And after the first trauma bond, and I was working on my emotional regulation and reading books and everything, going online and not being triggered by a bunch of fucking strangers no more, and just being really a logical thinker, the borderline person tapped in to my childhood trauma from my mom being a borderline and my dad being, the drug addict, sex addict, blah. And this motherfucker was a sex addict and a fucking drug addict and everything. Anyway, so that created the super high highs and the low lows. That is how I, the narcissist person, became trauma bonded in my past. This does not happen every day. Usually in relationships, it's give me what I fucking want. And if you don't, you're gone. Or if you are important and I am getting my needs met in some way, you will be kept around. But the devaluation and the love connection can be at a sub-zero. Okay? All right. I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. Namaste.